What's up, guys? It's Josiah from Nikijo Gaming. So seeing as it's new format, I thought I would do a video on the deck that me and Zavier have been playing and topped a couple of events with. Um, so this is the deck list. I did it in this format instead of like a normal profile because I know some people just like skipping to whatever card they want to hear about and don't want to hear the whole profile, which is fine. Um, so yeah, we played this since the start of the new format. So I came top eight at an extravaganza on the first weekend of the format. It was just a Swiss only tournament, so I came like sixth, I think, in Swiss, and then that was it. And then Xavier with the same deck list yesterday came first at an extravaganza. Um, that wasn't a Swiss tournament. I think he came third in Swiss, and then he won through top eight as well, which is really good. So yeah, we've had success with the deck. So I thought I'd go through the changes. Like obviously it's going to be very similar to what it was before because it didn't get hit very much on the ban list. But there are a few things of note which I thought would be good to go through. Um, so yeah, I'll just go through it. So some things are obvious, like three kit, three Nerval, three Fractal, the one Tenki now. It's obvious. So I'm playing three Karis now, whereas two was the standard before. Um, this is because with two less Tenki, that basically means two less Fractal, access to two less Fractal. It's going to be less consistent to see Fractal, so which in turn means less consistent of seeing Karis because Fractal effectively searches the deck for the Tri-Brigade you need. So you have less access to Karis now than you did before with less Tenkis. And I didn't want to uh, play and because with this deck obviously it only really has two lines, so you always want to have access to the Keras, so that's why I played three. I did a bunch of test hands with it at three, and the vast majority of the hands, like, you're happy to see the Keras in your hand. It's not really a big deal. Obviously you do get some hands where it's like a Keras and then four like hand traps or whatever, and that's like no good, but um I felt like it was a good thing to do based on what I just said. um Three revolts still obvious. So he's still playing zoos. I know that a lot of people are changing to pure, which I was considering doing with rescue cat and no zoos. Um, but I figured, seeing as this is like pretty much the best deck of the last format with the zoos in it, I thought I should at least trial them to see if they're still good in the deck. Like obviously, two less tankies means you have less access to zoos, and barrage hurts as well, having less access to zoos. Um, but I did like heaps of test hands, like with Karis, and I found that I was still like happy with the zoos in the deck, and then play testing they were really good as well. Um, but to make up for the lost Tenkies, the only good, well, Rat is the best one going first, because it dumps one to graveyard and you can check it back, etc., and then go into Ferret. Um, Thoroughblade's the next best one, which is why people played two of it before, because if you draw it with another one, you can ditch something, draw a card, and then make the Ferret. Um, so to make up for the lost Tenkies and Barrages, I played the third Thoroughblade because it's the best one, and all the other ones aren't good to draw going first, because they don't do anything. So I didn't want to play any of the bad ones, so I didn't want to just like play a bunch more zoos to make up for the Tenkies and Barrage. I just wanted to play the good ones. So yeah, it's got the three Thoroughblade, the Rat, and the Tenki, so you still have access to five zoos effectively. So you still see them probably as much as you'd want to. Obviously a bit less than before, but it's not a big deal. Still playing Desires. Um, Prosperity conflicts with Thoroughblade, which you now have more of. Um, the deck's still like super consistent, so you don't need to access like certain cards. Just having generally like two cards is better. Um, Ash obvious, Imperm obvious. Still the best like two generic hand traps. Playing Foolish now, which you didn't really play in this deck before. Not many people did because similar logic with Keris, you got less fractals. So this effectively is kind of like a bad fractal because it sends the kit which sends a Nerval, so you get two in the graveyard, not three. It's not a Tri-Brigade monster, obviously it's a spell. So it is worse than Fractal in most ways, but it's still good for consistency. Um, Crosshair Designator was legal for this tournament, and I thought this card is like, it's just an insane card. Obviously, you just get your combo through like more often, obviously, because their hand traps are stopping you less. And it's also cool with stuff like Droplet, because Droplet, it like really hurts this deck if they Droplet you when you have, doesn't matter what your field is, like Droplet is really annoying. Obviously they can ditch a spell and then you can't Designator it, but a lot of the time they're not ditching a spell, they're just ditching monsters from hand and stuff like that. So Designator can negate this as well, which is really crucial. But yeah, it just helps you get your combo through, and with this deck, if you get your combo through like Apo Revolt, you generally win. So this just helps you get it through. Also has cool applications to the side deck, which I'll go through in a minute. But yeah, this card's crazy because obviously you only have 2 lines with this deck. If you have this card, it means you can stop one of those lines being stopped if they have a hand trap. Obviously, like the downside with this is going second. It's not the best, but you know, often going second, even post side, they still have hand traps in, so it still has that application. Obviously, like insane in the mirror. Yeah. So to round off the deck, 2 Veiler. I wanted to play 1, only for Designator because Veiler it's fine, but obviously it's not amazing. I only wanted to play 1, but because obviously you can draw the Veiler and then the Designator can't stop the Veiler if you play 1, which happens like 10% of the time. It should happen 10% of the time you're drawing the 1 of. That is okay, but when you pair that with Desires potentially banishing the 1 of, it's a significant percent chance of either drawing the 1 of or banishing the 1 of or drawing the 1 of off the Desires. And then if they have the Veiler later, then the Designator's useless, obviously. So the percentage was a bit too much, and I like the whole point of this deck is it's like the consistent deck of the format. So I didn't want to just like have games where like I drew the Veiler, I banished the Veiler, I try to do something, have Designator in hand, they have the Veiler, and now my consistent deck can't do what it wants to do because I only played 1 instead of 2. I think the percent was like 20%, a bit less than 20% of either opening the Veiler or banishing the 1 of Veiler off the Desires, like in the hands whether you have Designator or Designator and Desires. So yeah, I didn't really want that to happen, so I played 2. It's like whatever, not much difference between 1 and 2 anyway. So Call by the Grave is also obvious. I'll just say that now. So Droll and Droplet. Droll was not for Designator. Droll is not very good against this deck, obviously, because you don't really care about searching that much or drawing that much. Like it can be annoying sometimes, like if you go Tanky or Thoroughblade Ditch to draw a card and they draw you and then you can't search Revolt of Bear, but I don't know. I didn't think many people were going to be maining Droll anyway, and people shouldn't really side it in. And it's just not great against this deck anyway. So this is mainly because obviously all the combo decks are like a lot better now that Designator exists. So the logic was like a lot of the times if you have like 1 hand trap hands now, obviously if they have the Designator, they have the Designator, and then you're going to lose because they're going to do that combo. But in like 2 hand trap hands, and maybe they Designator one of them, like you want the hand traps you have to be like significant, like actually like stop their turn. Which Droll obviously does against like pretty much all the combo decks. Like if you resolve the Droll, then they're not doing very much. So I wanted to play that because it's like the most high impact hand trap versus the combo decks. And if I get a hand trap through, I want to be one that stops the turn. Because I'm going to have 2 hand trap hands where I use 1, they Designator, and then yeah, like if I have another weak hand trap, then it probably isn't going to do enough if they've Designated 1 and I have a weak hand trap. So I wanted to run the really powerful hand traps against combo. I wanted to play 3, but as you can see, it's 40 cards, and I wanted to play Droplet as well for the interaction with Designator. And by the same logic, it's Droll. Well, you can ditch the spell, which isn't going to happen very much in this deck because you don't play that many spells, and then they can't designator it. But combo decks are going to get their combo off more often than they did before because of designator. And this is just a good card you can draw or draw for turn or just have, and not really care that they've done their combo because you can droplet their board, which interacts really well with Kit and Nerval and stuff like that, and then play through the board. Which is another reason why the zoos are good. Because if you droplet, or I play Dark Ruler as well in the side deck. If you droplet a Dark Ruler, then you just summon a zoo, make a Zeus, bomb the board, and then you can set up like your own board afterwards. So yeah, droplet was there for those reasons. So that was the main deck. Me and Zavier were really happy with the main deck. Like I said, I would have liked to have played 3 draw and 3 droplet, but I wanted to have room for Veilers because Veiler is like quite annoying against this deck, even though it's not the best overall. So it meant that, and I didn't want to play more than 40 because the deck's consistency has been hit a bit by the loss of Tenkies and Barrage. So I didn't want to play more than 40 if I didn't have to. And I thought 2 was fine. And also, obviously, if people aren't playing like the combo decks, then like draw is not very good. And I side into the third. So yeah, main deck was really good. I was happy with the 3 Karis. Me and Xavier have been happy with the Zoos, and I think the hand trap ratios were good. Designator was I didn't see it that much, but the theory on it is really good. Yeah. So, do extra deck next, I suppose. Extra deck is the same as it has been forever. Last format, so there's not much to say about it. 2 Ferret, Bear, Rugal, 2 Omen, Almirage, Double Dragon Lords, Doom Eagle, Access, Apo, the 3 Zoos, and the Zeus. There's nothing else you really need to play. Obviously, the deck still functions the same as it did before, just slightly less consistently because of loss of tankies. So yeah, nothing really needed to change with the extra deck. Side deck. So 3 Nibiru because it's obviously really good against the combo decks, and like same logic with Droll. Like if you're getting a hand trap through now, you really want it to be really impactful. Yeah, not much to say about it. Dark Ruler. So wasn't playing this before, and not many other people were too. Obviously, everyone says like Drytron didn't really get hit on the ban list because they only limited Eva, which is true. But now that Eva is limited, that's actually really relevant for this deck, because it means like obviously a lot of people would the play would be to keep the Beatrice on the board and send another Eva and then get double orange light. Some people link away the Beatrice anyway, but you can't be sure that they're going to do that based on their hand or the player. So last format, you would be playing against people who have double orange light, basically. And obviously, because this deck only has 2 lines, double orange light is pretty much game, even without the board itself. Like the board is what kills you, obviously, but the double orange light doesn't let you play. Now they only have 1 Eva. They can only get 1 orange light, and 1 orange light isn't really a problem. So Dark Ruler I think is better now because you can Dark Ruler, deal with all of the board negates, and then you only have to deal with the 1 orange light versus 2 that you had to deal with before. And the 1 orange light is easy to beat because you just summon a zoo, so you Dark Ruler them or Droplet them, summon a zoo, make Zeus, go to bomb, they have to orange light pretty much, bomb again, you lose your Zeus but you don't care if you have Karis and any other tri-type, you then go into Apo Revolt and that's game. So yeah, that was the logic behind Dark Roll. I think it's a lot better now with Eva Limited, even though people say Eva Limit was not that relevant. I think in terms of Dark Roll and Droplet being a lot better, it actually is quite relevant. And same logic with Designator existing, it means comboing off more. Your hand traps are not going to be stopping them as much as they did before. So having cards like Ruler and Droplet are good because obviously they can have Designator for Ruler and to an extent Droplet, but you want the really high impact cards. I think they're just going to be stopping cards more now. Twin, obvious, because of how this deck actually does have a problem with back row, and it interacts well with Kit and Nerval. Third draw, third droplet. Wanted to play 3, obviously going second, put these in because these are really high impact cards. Order. was maining it before. Like, it's less good to main now, I guess, because you are playing, a few more spells, like droplets now in the main, which it wasn't before. Designators in the main, which is before. Wasn't before. Foolish as well. So it is going to conflict more with your deck. That's not really a big deal for this deck because you don't play that many spells. But there was that, and also, like I said, I didn't think of anything I could cut for it. So it would have been a 41st card, which I didn't want to play. And then the last three side deck cards are three one-ofs, because these are the other three cards that this deck really hates, and you can negate with Designator. Obviously, like I said, you can run into issues of opening them or banishing them with Desires, but there isn't the space to run like two of each of these. And I only would side them in against decks that they're already good against. Like, I was thinking at one point of just like siding in like all of the targets so that if you have Designator, like your combo is always going through. In worst case, you can, if you drew them and they weren't good, you can just put them back with a Baron or Bear, which is another good thing about this deck with Designator, because if you draw the cards you want to negate, you can put them back. And often, like post side, you have lots of one-offs. So like a lot of the time, I only have one droplet in my deck post side. If I draw it, I can put it back with Bear or Ferret to negate with Designator on their turn. So these are the three cards that you lose to really hard. Droplet you also lose to really hard, which is why it's there. Twin is also can be really annoying. So I did often, pretty much always, I would side in one Twin, regardless of what deck I'm playing against, for Designator, because pretty much everyone sides in Twin against this deck. And if they have Twin and other things, you do just lose. Like, Twin is really annoying. So I only ever would side in the one like True Brick, which Twin Twister can be. Like, for example, against Drytron, it's obviously a terrible card to draw. But you can put it back, like I said, if you draw it, and it's just there for Designator mainly. So I wanted my Designator to, be as powerful as possible and have access to as many negates as possible. So you've got the Twin, the Droplet, and the three cards you lose really hard to. And like I said, these cards are like good against certain decks as well. So like, I wouldn't side them in if it was bad against the deck. Like, Phantasma is pretty bad against Drytron, for example. So I wouldn't side that in against them. But against, something like a Dragon or something, like, this is good anyway. Even if you do draw it, it doesn't matter because it's a good card to draw. So yeah, that's the deck. Going forward, I think this is still a really good deck. I don't know if it's the best deck, which it pretty much was before. It might be. We've had success with it. I know people, like I said, are changing to cat build, which I did consider and might be what I go with eventually. But for now, I think the zoos are pretty good at doing zoo things. I don't think there's anything else to say. There isn't really much I want to change. Like, potentially going forward, these could be other cards and not, be caring about Designator being able to stop like everything. But I thought they were good for now. Rest of the deck I think is fine. So shout outs. So shout outs to Zavier for testing and discussing the deck. My team, Nikijo Gaming, Nikijo Collectibles, which is our sponsor. Use Gaming5 for 5% off your order on their website. And yeah, that's it. So thanks for watching.